Hi everybody, Mrs. Love here. Happy Monday. I'm going to start you off with on the week with a couple of different recordings. Now, as you progress through each recording, you will finish all of your assignments for this week. Okay. I have it set up so you do this lesson on Monday, and you can begin the next lesson. And then on Tuesday, you'll finish the second recording and the assignment with that. And then there's a part two to that. And then on Wednesday, you should only have a little bit of stuff to finish up. Okay, so where I want to start is where we left off on Friday. It was kind of a much longer lesson than I thought it was going to be on Friday. So each class kind of stopped in a different place. So I want to cover everything that we did not get to on Friday in this recording. Now, I think one of the classes got a little further than the other. So I'm just going to do the same for everybody. And for some of you, it will be a review. The first thing I would like you to do is watch this video. The link will pop up in the Edpuzzle in just a second. And I know that one of the classes already watched this, but I would like you to watch it again. And if you want to take some notes during the video, you can. It's a really good video. It tells everything about Jane Addams. So go ahead and watch this. You can pause your Edpuzzle recording while you're watching this, and then when you're done, just come on back. Okay, so we talked about Jane Addams on Friday. We read this part and we talked about how she set up Hull House in Chicago. And she believed in helping poor immigrants. She moved to the poor neighborhood in Chicago and lived there so she could be right in the middle of it. And she did not need to do that because she was a wealthy woman. But that's what she wanted to do. So she was really good at solving problems, and she was very determined, and she did not let anybody stand in her way. She did become to be one of the most admired women in America and was awarded one of the most honored prizes in the whole entire world, which is the Nobel Peace Prize. So we're going to go ahead and read a couple excerpts from the book here. Some of us read this in class on Friday. Some of us did not. It will just be review if you've already seen it. So we're going to pick up on page 195 in our book. It says she bought a red brick house with white columns on the porch in Chicago, right in the middle of the slums. Then Jane and her friend, Ellen Starr, got to work with paintbrushes and rags and cleaned up the house. It had been built by a Mr. Hull, so they named it Hull House. All of the neighbors were curious. Why would anyone live in the slums if they didn't have to? Chicago's slums were dirty and full of crime, but Addams didn't want to be an outsider. If she was able to help people, she needed to know them. She needed to be a neighbor. Jane Addams turned Hull House into a place where people could learn to speak English, get care for their children, take painting lessons, go to a concert, exercise in a gym, or act on stage. It was a place where they could get together with friends and take pride in their heritage. There were German nights at Hull House when German newcomers sang and danced and put on costumes from the old country. There were Polish nights and Italian nights and Russian nights. Hull House was one of a growing number of settlement houses in American cities. It was so successful that it grew until there were 13 buildings and a staff of 65. About 50 people lived at Hull House. Some of them were writers or artists, some were homeless. At dinner time, the dining room might be filled with neighbors and political leaders and renowned philosophers. Addams started clubs so working boys and girls could have fun and learn too. She worked to get child labor laws passed to make it illegal for children to work long days. Chicago built its first public playground because of her efforts. She served on the Chicago School Board and got new schools built. So she did a lot to help, okay? Now, while people like her are trying to help and they're trying to make things change, remember we called them progressives. We also have these city bosses who were kind of helping people, but really more for their own benefit. So let's take a look at this. Bosses did many worthwhile things, but most of them paid themselves for those worthwhile things by stealing from the people. In Chicago, a boss named Johnny Powers passed out free chickens and turkeys on holidays, so everyone loved him. But hardly anyone knew that he bought those turkeys with city money that was intended for schools. Power also used city money to buy a house for himself and diamonds for his fingers. Since many of Chicago's citizens couldn't read English, it was difficult for them to know what was happening. So when reformers like Jane Addams were trying to improve life in the cities, they had a fight on their hands. These bosses were popular. Many reformers were wealthy people who didn't live in the inner city, and they didn't know its polyglot population the way the boss did. So that's another reason why Jane Addams wanted to live in the city with the people she was helping. So what I would like you to do is grab a piece of paper, okay? And I want you to compare and contrast some of the ideas that we learned about that are showing the difference between the settlement houses like Jane Addams had and the city bosses that we've been reading about in our book. So what is different about what each of those groups are doing to help immigrants? So go ahead, pause the video, write down your ideas on a piece of paper, and then come on back and we'll see what you came up with. Okay, so here's a couple of things that I came up with. The settlement houses like Jane Addams had were trying to improve the lives of the immigrants and the poor. They were trying to give these people skills and opportunities to succeed, like English classes, childcare, and education. And that their motivation for doing this was just because they wanted to help people. Now, the city bosses, they offered services for immigrants too. They answered questions, helped people find jobs, gave out food on holidays, and did favors. But some of them controlled the lives of the immigrants and stole from them. Their motivation was to win loyalty of the people so they could take advantage of them and gain wealth. Okay, so who do you think is a better person to trust? All right, so we talked about Jane Addams. And remember, here are some of the important things that she did by establishing Hull House. All right, I'm just going to skip that question. We did that in class. I was going to delete that slide and I forgot. Okay, so here's what I want you to do now. You have the opportunity, now that I reminded you of what we learned on Friday. If you want to go back into Unit 4, Lesson 8, graded assignment, check your score that you got on Friday. If you did not get 2 out of 2, you have the opportunity to redo this assignment. It should be open for you to take again. Now, after you finish that, I want you to log back into Edpuzzle, go to your homepage, and listen to the next recording, which is called History, November 20 to 22 async work. This is a video. I actually recorded this yesterday, so it might sound a little out of order, but it's going to explain the rest of your work that you need to do for this week. And then there is a part 2 to that recording, and you'll understand that once you listen to it. So do your graded assignment again if you want to, and then go to Edpuzzle and look for this video. You should finish this video today. You have enough time, okay? All right. Good luck. I'll see you in the next video.